You know, I was thinking recently about how angry I am at the state of the world. You know, with all this war and destruction and hate. And so I decided to take a long walk and clear my head. And during my walk, I came across this very wise saying from the Roman philosopher Seneca. He said, "He who is everywhere is angry. He who is nowhere is at peace." I thought that was so profound because if we look around us right now, we see that most people are angry. They're angry at each other. They're angry at their jobs. They're angry at their bosses. And it seems like anger is just kind of this natural state of being for a lot of people. But what Seneca is pointing out there is that anger is not a natural state of being. It's a state that we have been conditioned to be in. We have been taught to be angry. So, when we're kids, we get angry. And if we don't learn how to deal with that anger, it doesn't go away as we get older. It doesn't magically disappear. In fact, it tends to get worse because now we've got adult bodies and adult voices and adult minds that can conceive of really awful things to do to other people. So, while anger may be a natural emotion, anger itself is not good or bad. It's simply energy. But anger becomes destructive when it starts to control us instead of the other way around. So, today I want to share with you 3 truths about anger that will help you understand it better and hopefully reduce its hold on you. Truth no. 1 is that anger is a pull towards evil. Anger is a dangerous thing because it takes us away from everything that is good and pure and wholesome. When we are angry, our instinct is to lash out. We want to hurt someone. We want to destroy something. We want to do something that we would later come to regret. Anger is a pull towards our darker impulses. And the reason why I believe this is true is because the great teacher Socrates once said, "There are 2 types of evil, the one that we do to others, and the one that we do to ourselves. The first one is called murder, and the second one is called regret." When we allow anger to build inside of us, we are doing damage to ourselves because we are taking ourselves away from what we know is right. We are choosing to indulge in these dark impulses. And we may think, well, it's different in my situation. No, it's not. Because anger always clouds our judgment. It makes us irrational. It makes us say or do things that we would later come to regret. And let me tell you, when I say that anger is a pull towards evil, I don't mean that someone had to physically hit you in order for you to get angry. We can get angry thus by watching the news. We can get angry at what we see on social media. We can get angry even at a stranger walking down the street. Why? Because anger is a secondary emotion. What that means is that when we see something that we don't like or we hear something that we don't agree with, we get offended and then we feel anger. So anger is always triggered by something else. It's never just floating around there waiting to be unleashed. And anger doesn't require a physical action to manifest. It's all in our heads. It's all in how we choose to interpret what's going on around us. Truth no. 2. Anger is a fire that must be extinguished quickly. You know, one of the problems that we have in the modern age is that we allow anger to fester. We hold on to it for days, weeks, months, years. We get stuck in the cycle of anger and resentment. And you know what happens when you leave a fire unattended? It grows. And that's what happens to anger too. If we don't deal with it, if we don't extinguish it as soon as possible, then it grows. And what happens is that eventually we find ourselves consumed by this thing that we call anger. You know, one of the best stories about this is the story of Moses. Moses was leading the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt, and God told him to go and stand in front of Pharaoh and demand that he let the Israelites go. And Moses was scared, obviously, because he was gonna have to face the most powerful man in the world. So he made up an excuse and said, "Send someone else, please. Send Aaron. He's such a better speaker than me." God wasn't having it, though, and he said, "No, I chose you. You're going to go and you're going to speak to him." So Moses was forced to face his fear, and when he did, God spoke through him, and Pharaoh finally agreed to let the Israelites go. Now, After God had done all of this work, Moses got mad. He was upset because the Egyptians didn't let them go right away. They made them suffer for 10 years. And as a result, God said, "I'm not gonna let you enter the promised land because you doubted me." Do you see what happened here? Moses was so focused on solving the problem that he forgot to stay connected to the source of his strength. He forgot to extinguish his anger. Instead, he held onto it for 40 years until it consumed him. Truth no. 3. Many people are angry because they are conditioned to be angry. When we think about anger, we usually think about it as an individual issue. We think that other people are angry because of something that they experienced, some sort of trauma or pain that caused them to be bitter. And while that's true in some cases, in most cases, people are angry because they have been taught to be angry. This is one of the central messages of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s book, Why We Can't Wait. He says that Black Americans have been conditioned to be angry at white Americans. But this anger is not helpful. It's not going to make things better. In fact, it's only going to make things worse. So, what does he suggest we do instead? Love. Yes, he says we should love our oppressors because hatred only breeds more hatred. Love is the only way forward. Now, of course, this is easier said than done. How can we love people who hate us? Well, King talks about this idea of loving your enemy. He says that this doesn't mean that you approve of what they're doing. You can still acknowledge that they are wrong. You can still condemn their actions. But at the same time, you don't wish for them to be punished. You don't wish for them to suffer. You don't wish for them to die. That was the mindset of the activists who rode the buses in Montgomery, Alabama, when they were arrested and beaten and separated. They hated what the bus company was doing, but they didn't hate the people who worked there. They understood that those people were just following orders. They understood that they were victims of the system and thus like them, and that's why they could forgive them. You see, when we are faced with oppression, we have two options, hate or love. And I know which one is more natural because we see it all around us. People respond to oppression with violence and anger, and that's understandable. It's a natural reaction to an unnatural situation. But at the end of the day, anger doesn't solve anything. It doesn't fix the problem. It doesn't bring us any closer to justice. All it does is make us miserable, and if we want a better world, we have to start by making ourselves happy. So I'll leave you with this, brothers and sisters. The next time you find yourself getting angry, take a step back and ask yourself, why am I angry? What happened? Is this something that I can control? Or is this something that I need to accept? If it's something you can control, then go and fix it. Take action. Don't just sit there stewing in your own anger. But if it's something you can't control, then let it go, accept it, and move on. Because holding on to anger is like drinking poison and hoping that it kills the other person. And the poison, my friends, it always kills us first. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please like and share it with your friends. Until next time, stay strong.